All right, it's recording. So yeah, Robyn's going to run us through how to build a Harvie pack line and some updates that they're implementing in the age of COVID here. So a little extra safety stuff. So I'll let her take it from here.
It looks like, yeah, I will just, there we go. All right. So what I don't always like going full screen because then I can't see people. So
Yeah, I always exit full screen too. It's
okay,
fine.
if you don't mind, then I am going to do that where
I think that's fine.
everybody on there.
It's
But most of you have your video hidden, which is understandable.
Harvie Organics in Wisconsin.
Oh,
How they build their shares.
Need to mute some people.
All right. Okay. So this is just a 10 slide little click through that I did this last year for Harvie as well. I'm Robyn from Park Ridge Organics is the name of my farm. And we started using Harvie in 2018. So we do a 2 seasons per year. We do a standard season and an extended season. So we used both of those in 2018 and then both of them in 2019. So this is technically like our 5th season, going into our 5th season using Harvie. And, you know, I think it's important to, well, I'll bring it up throughout this presentation, but I had to make some changes on this because things are changing, as we all know. So I will just say that I feel very thankful that we're using Harvie for our share system as we've entered this new normal. And so the adjustment has been, and maybe some of you are going into your first Harvie year, which is a very scary time, but I promise you, it's going to be great. You're going to be super happy that you're using this type of a system, especially in a time like this.
I think everybody on this call, Robyn, is a new farm this year.
Great. And this was the scariest, and so this just shows you too, that once you get a system, you won't even care anymore about what other, you won't look back. Like you'll come up with a system for your pack line. I know for me, that was like the scariest part. What were the logistics going to look like from a packing perspective? So I'm just sharing what we do, how we set it up. Of course, everyone can modify that to their own liking, and you may come up with a totally different system, but I'm telling you what works for us. I'm also telling you that I feel that we're very efficient and successful in our packing. So some of the suggestions I have, I think are useful if you are willing to try some of them out. So Park Ridge Organics is the name of my farm, and I think if I don't, I'll go ahead and play it because I have some animation and I don't think it plays otherwise. Okay. So Park Ridge Organics, we started in 2003. My parents actually started the farm, and total tillable land right now is at 8 acres. And so we maximize, we're double cropping all the time. It's a pretty heavily used chunk of 8 acres, but yeah, my parents started the farm and I moved home in 2006 and really got the CSA started. I would say 2009 was our first successful CSA year with about 30 members. And then, you know, over all those years, 10, 11 years, we've been adding more and more shares, and our shares make up about, I think it's between 70 and 80% of our total revenue comes from share sales. So we are definitely more dependent on shares than anything else. We also have a farm store. So this is a picture of the cooler in our farm store. It's a self-serve, or I should say it was a self-serve farm store. We're still kind of working out what that's going to look like for this season. Here in Wisconsin, eastern Wisconsin, our harvest season doesn't really truly begin until June. So we're, you know, not quite sure what our farm store is going to look like, but that's sort of what the whole farm began as, was my parents wanted to have a little roadside stand. When I moved home in 2006, I was like, no, we got to do this CSA thing. And it really has worked well for our farm. So we also do sell at one farmer's market, which is very much in limbo right now. Again, so we're diversified in the sense that we have different outlets for income. But it's been very I feel very lucky that we're diversified the way that we are, that we've stuck with CSA, that we still have a lot of our income coming from CSA, because that right now is topping out as the most reliable source in this time of COVID-19. I do have a partner. Oh, I don't know where the picture went. Well, there they are. So my personal partner, Brad, and our daughter, Frances, Brad does not work on the farm. He works off the farm down the road as a cabinet maker. So I am a sole proprietor. It's, a little bit different than a lot of people's farming situation. You might be farming with your spouse or partner. So I have a really great management crew. I have 2 managers that have been with me. Jeff is on his 11th season. Becky's on her 7th season, I believe. This year we have 13 employees, and they're all returning employees. So I'm pretty lucky that we have a really great returning crew. Super excited about that, especially going into a season like this. So I mentioned that, CSA is our main gig, and it's that way for a reason. We've always just felt that if we can keep it alive and do a good job at it, even in the downturn that a lot of people saw in CSA, that it's just the best. It's the most stable. You know what you need to grow. You know the income coming in. So when we decided to choose Harvie, it was very much a decision based on wanting to maximize the value of the shares that we were giving. We were giving way too much produce for the value that people paid. So Harvie forces you to have a more value-driven system versus a volume-driven system for your CSA. And so it's really shown us that and the reason I'm going to talk about some of this, I know I'm supposed to talk about how we set up our pack line, but I feel like all this matters. So we do have great member retention. We ran auto renewal last November for our shares that start June of 2020, and 50% of our members auto renewed way back when in November. And so I don't know my exact member retention rates. Every year we keep taking more members, so it's not a real good, to me, I guess it's not a good number to look at, because we do have a lot of new spots that we open up every year. But for us, it's really simplified our farm system, which a lot of people think it might complicate a farm system to have a customized share box. But for us, it greatly simplified it. So this is our share situation. Actually, I need to change that. But 2 days ago, this would have said we were going to have 390 shares, but we just made the decision 2 days ago that we need to we sold out, and so we had closed our shares about a week ago. We're going to open it back up and take more, just because in this uncertainty, shares are like the one solid thing that we know we can produce for, and we know we can sell. We have a waiting list with 30 people on it, so we're going to open about 30 more share units. So we have our standard season, which will be about 400, maybe 420 shares per week. That runs from June through October, and then we have a extended season as well. Again, this would have been different. We usually do market style for our on-farm pickup, which is about sometimes as many as a third of our members pick up here at our farm. So that's not happening this year. We're going to be packing out all 420 shares are going to get packed out every week. So that's a change for us, but something that, because we know what it takes to pack out shares, because we're packing many of our shares, we know that we can do one share in less than a minute. Actually, we think it takes about 45 seconds to pack out one share. So we know that adding on the 100 or 90 for farm pickup shouldn't be too bad. We can estimate that it'll add like an hour and a half onto our pack line time. We do offer in our main season, we have 3 different size shares. So some of you might have different size shares and you're wondering how the heck is that going to look on your pack line. We also we have 3 different delivery days, but we pack them all on the same day. So we are packing all of our shares on one day. And in fact, so last year when we packed out 270 shares that left the farm, it took us about 3 hours. So that's kind of, but this year it'll be, like I said, it'll be more. We're packing every box out. There won't be any market style pickup at the farm. We are also planning to use farm stand in place of farmer's market once our season really starts to roll. And so that we're going to be adding basically another pack day. So Thursdays will be our pack day for all of our shares, and Fridays will be a pack day for our farm stand orders. So how you talk to your Harvie, your Harvie, the Harvie system can be kind of, I think, can be a big deal, right? So, you know, I think it's scary to think about harvest estimates, and that was something going into it that we were a little uncertain about. We still are. I think it's okay to be afraid of that, because the worst thing I think that my personal feeling is the worst thing you can do is underestimate a harvest and then have to deal with Harvie has great ways for you to deal with that, but it can be a bit of a nightmare from a member perspective. So we try to do our best with our harvest estimates, and it gets more and more comfortable the more you do it. So, you know, broccoli is a crop where it can be tricky. Like, we do a lot of our putting in our harvest estimate. You can choose the unit that you want to use for each item. We do a lot of each as our item unit versus a head. Or like for broccoli, you could say you're going to give heads of broccoli, but what if they're super small and you needed to rubber band them together? And like, so we just tend to use each for a lot. And if we'd have to bag it, we could bag it. That kind of approach to it seems to work better. We've learned probably the hard way that having a lot of items on your harvest estimate, or even if you're adding a lot of extras on a particular week, can really make the packing process a bit more challenging. So I understand that a lot of farms have, maybe you're doing a vegetable share, but you also have meat that you sell as an extra, or whatever item it might be as an extra, or even just extra produce that you want to put in, specialty bunches of herbs or whatever it might be. We just found that to add a whole lot of stuff to your pack line it can make the packing process pretty confusing. And if you're going into your first year, I just think having a plan for that is a good idea. We've really focused on the core crops. So once we had a couple seasons under us with Harvie, we're able to make those tough decisions. Like, if there's a crop that just really isn't that popular, we've gotten rid of it. And we all know what those are on our farm. I mean, eggplant is great and somebody might love it, but a lot of people don't like eggplant. So like, there isn't going to be a single eggplant growing on our farm this summer, because the truth is people really want more broccoli. They want more carrots. They want more of these base items that they're familiar with. And, you know, I understand that the old way of CSA was a great way to introduce people to new stuff, but which you still can do through various ways in Harvie. But I think for the basic core part of our shares, we like it to be these crops. Every week there's at least, 3, 4, 5 of our crops or something that we know people are going to love. Okay, algorithms, I think they're very cool. I know that the Harvie algorithm has been explained probably to all of you. I think it's a good idea to make sure you understand how the algorithm works, because it helps you when you're developing your estimates. And our members, they love it. Like we just have an overall great response from our members about the system and using Harvie. Okay, so again, I know I'm not getting to the pack line yet, but that's like the easy part, because all the stuff before it is what matters to get you to that point. So I wanted to share with you, this is our simple form. We're a pen and paper kind of farm. So I just made this form, and we have a 20-week season. So I print 20 of them for the season. And this is what we use every week to put together our estimate that we're going to use, that we're going to enter into the Harvie system for our harvest estimate. So a few things to point out on this page, and I think I have some, okay. So we have our crops here, and you know, this is something where like on Wednesday, we're pulling this piece of paper out because on Friday is when we send out our harvest estimate for the following week. So we bring this piece of paper out, we start to write on there what we know that we're gonna have for the week to come. And throughout the next, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're communicating about what we went out to the field and it looks like there wasn't going to be enough of that. So something might come off the list. We always use pencil because things are coming and going on this list a lot until it's finally, after a really good drive around the farm on Thursday afternoon, we settle on what this list is going to be. It's a there's 13 lines on our page for a reason. We never go more than 13 items on our pack line. That's the number that we've found is a very manageable amount of stuff to harvest in a week, which could vary on a farm, but it's also just a manageable amount for us to pack into our container. Or, you know, you could have a pack line with 30 items, but if the member value of a share, they're only going to get 10 of them. It makes for more places to make a mistake when you're packing, and just more just setup involved if you have too many items. Again, this is just our personal feeling, but we've found that like this, about a dozen items is really the maximum that we want to have on our pack line. So the number that is on the left that's circled in the red, those are the number that's the order in which we enter it into our harvest estimate. So some of this has changed in the algorithm with Harvie, but it still does matter that the way that you enter the items, meaning like you open up your harvest estimate page, the first item that you enter is number 1. So the way that you enter all the items does have an effect on the way that the items are distributed across the shares. So we tend to take items that we know are popular, that we know we have enough of them, like we're really confident in our harvest estimate. We like to put those items at the top of the list. Items that are maybe a little less desirable, like on this picture, the thyme, we put it at number 11 because it's our shares. We have 3 different size shares. So the $20 share is going to get about 7 items. So the small share isn't even going to touch the thyme. Like their box will be filled up before it even gets to the thyme when it's running the algorithm. So that's sort of how we prioritize. We put popular items to the top, items that we know we have enough of. And we tend to try to we don't even put it on our list until we know there's enough of it to go around. That is different than maybe for some of us. Like I know when Simon had explained it to me early on, the idea of having a home for those first 50 tomatoes in your field when they're turning sounds nice. Like, sure, you could put them in here, but we find that if there isn't really, just like our old CSA, if there really isn't enough for everybody to get it, if they want it, we don't tend to put it in here. We'd rather wait a couple weeks until there's more of it to go around. And I won't spend any more time on that. The star feature is a whole different thing, but hopefully someone has explained that.
Everybody gets harvest estimate training in real time prior to the first delivery. So some of this, if this is all foreign to most of you, which at this point it probably is, you will get a little bit more training on this as Julie walks you through that in real time. So don't stress out or freak out too much yet.
And it's great that you get the real time training. If there's questions, because it's different, right? It's just different from a farm perspective to
absolutely
see it. Like the unit goal, or what Harvie calls the base quantity, is something that we use quite a bit. You can see on this week. So I mentioned like for broccoli, it might be each a head, or here's a mini romaine, it was an each. So those are single heads that valued at $2.50. The BQ, or the base quantity, means that they're going to get 2 at minimum. So this is a great way to like not have to bag your sweet corn just give it a BQ of 4, and anyone who gets corn, will get 4 of them. So that's something that we use quite a bit as well. And then just last thing on this page is the value. This is where we never knew. I never could have told you what the value of our share of product value of our shares were in our old system. And now with Harvie, it's exactly what we know, and it's exactly what drives all the decisions on our farm. So we know we can take what we know we have in the field. You know, we know that we have 800 white onions and they're at 50 cents. So it's a value over here of $400. This is the total product value per item. So $400. We add all these numbers up, and this tells me that I need 9,900. This is what I have, $9,930 worth of product in the field. And what Harvie will tell you is that it's, Harvie tells you your value that you need. And this is a really important, I think this is an important thing to understand, that you just take, I mean, you can figure this out when you're setting your estimate. It'll tell you what you need for value based on how many shares you're packing that week. And so if you make sure you have enough in your estimate, your shares will all be fulfilled and people will have beautiful looking boxes. Okay, I won't spend too much time on this, but the pick list that it spits out after your cutoff time, super great, easy to understand, easy to use. Very useful. You can separate your pick list out by each site. So if you have a desire to pack a different site at a different time or whatever, you can count stuff out differently. So the old way, so now to the part you've all been waiting for. The pack line that we used to do, which I think a lot of CSA farms did, was that the people would be standing still and the box would move past them. So here we are, like Linda in the hat, she's putting in, well, I don't know, kohlrabi and something else. She might have 2 or 3 items. Dan's on the opposite side of the pack line. He's putting in a couple items. And then the box gets pushed down the line. So that's the old way of doing it. And now our new way of doing it is that one person is responsible for packing one box. So, or each box, I should say. So the person follows the box through its life from beginning to end, with one set of eyes watching what's going in it. So I do have here's a video, a picture, sorry. And maybe I'll show you, there's a video. So I'm going to show you this silly video that I made for somebody and I sent it to them on an iPhone. So this was not intended to ever be like shared with this group, but it's been like passed around a few times.
I have like the official video, Robyn, from when I was visiting your farm on the first Harvie pack day. So
is it different than this one? I mean, this one's good though. I think
this totally works. But
all right, so I'll just play this quick. I think it's like 2 minutes long or something.
Okay.
3 minutes.
Hey Patty, I'm doing a selfie video for you just to show you the pack line and how it works. We use a Procana container. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but it's made for cut flower production. So that's what we use for our container. We have 3 different size shares. We put our small and our medium into the same size container, which is this shorter one. And then our larges go into our taller container. So each label is organized by site in this basket. They're in the order in which we want to pack them. And then Jane here, she tears them apart and kind of gives them a once over and makes sure that she's putting the right size container out for the box. It does say on each label at this might be backwards because I'm doing a selfie, but it says at the bottom the size of the share. So that lets her know what size box to set out. And then sometimes she has to use her wonderful common sense to put out a bigger box if it looks like they ordered a lot of extra stuff. And then on the line, we have it organized by the pick list. So Harvie, the program gives you, I'm getting off this selfie mode. I don't know how. Maybe I can't. Okay, so it gives you this pick list that's everything's organized by weight that you can change and edit at any time. So this week they're getting beets, zucchini, salad tomatoes, and cherry tomatoes, which might seem a little weird. It is a little weird, but that's a quirk I won't go into, but our cherry tomatoes we put in a pint with a lid, so I actually made them heavier on the list. And then we set this bag of salad tomatoes on top of the cherry tomatoes. Cucumbers, shallots, hot peppers, sweet peppers. Eggplant was an additional item that we just added and they could buy one. Chard, and then tomatoes, salad, basil. At the end is our add-ons, which are always listed at the bottom of the label. And for us, that's mushrooms and pasta. So we have two people that are like the back stockers. So they're just bringing up a crate when one of these gets empty. We like to just have one crate of everything out on the line. And then there's 3 or 4 people that are doing the actual boxing. And our system is that we, they have a highlighter. I want to see what you do. So they have a highlighter and they're just going down the list and highlighting stuff as they're putting it in the box. And at the end, Miss Becky looks at it one more time. Hi, Patty. Do you remember Becky? So Becky looks at it one more time, puts the label on the box, and then it goes onto our, we use a little pallet system organized by site. So I think that's kind of the gist of how it works. We've done a few different systems since we started this year. This seems to be working the best and we make the least amount of mistakes. So that's that. I'm going to send you this now. Bye.
All right. Okay, so that, is everybody still there? It's like I can't see anybody, so I have no idea if I'm even connected.
Everybody's here. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay. Okay, so the video kind of lets you see that in real time. This is a beautiful drawing I made of our pack line. That video was in 2018, our first season, and to be honest, it's pretty much the same system, except for we now use a liner bag. We started that last year, and am I ever happy that we do? So we use a liner bag in our share now. I get it from Uline. Some people love Uline, some people hate Uline. It works, it's just what's working for us right now. So we get this liner bag, it's like 16 by 14 by something, 18 maybe. And it lines our entire container, and we've eliminated individual bagging. If you noticed in that video, we had chard was in a bag, hot peppers were in a bag. Our lettuce has always been individually bagged. Ton of time spent individually bagging things. By moving, I mean, I can't even explain how much time we are saving by moving to a liner in our bag and just relying on that to keep the moisture in for all those bunched items and head lettuce and such. Huge time saver for us to use that liner bag. And now from a food safety perspective, it's just a lot quicker at the site for a member to come and grab the bag out of our container, because they do not take their container home, they empty it out. So to just grab that liner bag and keep on moving to the next, you know, so the next person can step in and grab their stuff, I think is going to be very important in this season that we're about to experience with trying to just have less gathering and activity at our sites. So this is the picture of the pack line. You saw it in the video. Like I said, we like to put up one container of each, and then we have this back stock. So because of a couple things, I mean, we have a mask policy in place. So if we're in buildings or working close together outside, we're requiring our crew to wear a mask. So definitely on the pack line, we'll be wearing masks for the time being, as far as I can see. And then what I'm planning on, and this is like just something we've come up with in the last week, is that we're going to double up our pack line. So pardon the picture, I had to like flip it around and turn it inside out, but basically our back stock will now run down the middle of the system with pack line roller tables on each side of the system, so that we can spread out a little bit more. So it's actually not going to require any more people, I don't think. It's just that instead of having 4 people packing on the same set of roller table, now we can have a couple people packing on one set and a couple people on the other set. So that's going to be a huge change, but something I feel like is probably the smarter thing to do to keep our workers a little bit separated from each other. So this is a close-up of the container that we use, and now that's the liner that I was talking about. So this is now what our shares look like when they start going down the pack line. It's an added step. Somebody has to open up the liner bag and put it in the box, but we have a worker share who does that, and it's a great job for her. So that works out well. A close-up of the label, and I feel like the labels had some big improvements over the last couple seasons. So this is a bad example. Her name is super long, so her phone number has disappeared off the label. Some of those errors might not be, those glitches might not be in place anymore, but typically under the name of the site, in this case it says the free market, it would also list her phone number. Some people get 2 shares in a week because they moved it around for whatever reason, vacation. But you can see, I mean, everything's real easy to read. The number is where you may make the most mistakes, or your crew might make the mistake. So make sure that you're paying attention to the quantity that's listed. In the video, I had mentioned that we use a highlighter. I think I said we mark it with a highlighter. We also, we give each person a different color highlighter so that there's some accountability. This does help when you're trying to have an efficient system. So if you find week after week that you're hearing from a member that something was forgotten, and you find out that it was the same person that was forgetting, perhaps they need to be promoted to a different position on the pack line, which we have done many times. So, I mean, it's a certain person that can focus, pay attention, not miss an item. You know, there's no talking on the pack line. If Stephanie would have played her video, that would have been me yelling at people for talking on the pack line.
Actually, yes, there is a moment where Robyn yells at everybody, no talking.
That's true. And mind you, that was like our first pack day your video was.
It was.
So you can't show that.
No, but multitasking isn't real, so I get why you're doing it.
Right. And sorry, but the ones who are busy chatting about their weekend plans are the ones who missed something. Yeah, I just feel awful when you miss an item. But I would say, honestly, overall, we're packing out, 270 that got packed and left the farm, and then the remaining 100 that got picked up at the farm. We don't miss a lot of stuff. I'd say maybe every 3rd week we hear that we missed somebody. And it's almost always that, like, oh, I only got 1 zucchini and I was supposed to get 2. So make sure you have the right people doing it. Not sure what this was to show. Maybe just our little pallet system, super handy dandy. I've had people ask me where we get these containers. And they're popular in Wisconsin because some very big CSA farms have used them. And I buy them now from a place called Ag Resource Inc. I think it's Ag Resource Inc. And so they can source these from the maker, which is Pagter. But these containers are pretty handy. We like them. They stack. The lid just sets on top. What I'm liking about it going into this pandemic situation is we can wash them. We can sanitize them super easily. The same containers I bought 8 seasons ago are still the containers we're using. We've had to bring on more. And every now and then a corner of one might get busted out or something. But overall, they hold up super well. I think it's about a 3/4 bushel box, probably a little bit less because of the taper. And then the larger size is about a 1 bushel box. So that is my pack line. That's it. There was a lot more than just pack line. So if you didn't want to hear all that, I apologize. But like I said, I think it's important to understand that you can't have an efficient pack line unless you have an efficient thing leading up to that pack line. They kind of go together.
And I do want to let everybody know, I have all the resources from this call actually last year about this time that Robyn did. So she sent me like the sheet of her harvest estimate sheet that they handwrite everything on. And I think a picture of the pack line there was in the recording. So I can send everybody that in the call notes after this. And Kelly wants to know, how much do those containers run for? Small, large, cost of the container.
So we just use 2, we have 3 different size shares, but we only buy 2 different size containers because that's silly to me to have all those containers. So the smaller box, it's called a Valencia 25. It means it's 25 centimeters tall. The Valencia 25, with the lid, it's probably $5 or $6. And then the larger is the Valencia 35. It's 35 centimeters tall. They're made in Holland, which is why the metric numbers, but they are about $7, maybe $8 with the lid. Which, you know, compared to like other reusable plastic washable totes, they're pretty cheap. And this year I was like, okay, we got to buy these 100 more to use just at the farm because of the current situation. I was hoping to maybe buy more like a harvest lug so that when all this is over with, we could use them for something else. But then I started to price out harvest lugs, and it's like $12 for you know, a size that would make sense versus these Procanas. Procanas is the name of the company, or like the product, Procona. So you can even just Google Procana, and it's pretty easy to find them. And again, like you can order directly from Pagture, but you have to get like a pallet of them. It's crazy. So I do recommend Ag Resource. I think it's Inc. There's a bunch of Ag Resource things when you if it comes up, if you just Google that. So I think it's Ag Resource Inc. Great little company out of Michigan or Wisconsin or Minnesota or something, and they'll do like a small order for however many you want.
That's great. Robyn, let's go back to that Lisa Griffin at Oxon Hill, I think. Yeah. She's got a question back to that comment about, you know, if you only have, say, 50 of something, but, you know, you have 400 shares, and how you don't specifically like to put those things. And she's saying, like, they used to use Market for that. We do want to reiterate that, like, you can use Harvie to do that. There's a way. I mean, you can still put, you know, a smaller quantity of items into your harvest estimate, and it's just going to fill the boxes in order for those members who've rated those items at like a 1. So it's okay to do that. Robyn just has chosen not to, probably for the sake of your sanity and your pack line. Like, it's not worth it for you to go harvest, say, 50 items of something versus like going to do it all at once. So
yeah. So it's very much a personal decision for the systems on our farm that work. Like herbs were the example. I remember when Harvie started out, I was like, oh, this is great. We can have one herb that we have enough of for everybody. You know, we'll put in the 300 bunches of basil, and then, oh, but we always have thyme and oregano and sage, and why not put in like a dozen of each of those into the estimate, and or even put them on as an extra. And just what we found was that then, like, you know, 3 people wanted the bunch of thyme, and you're going out to the field to do these really small little gatherings of things, and that just doesn't work with our system. So so no, you still can do that. And like, if you're using if you're saying like normally you would have, that's what we do too. If there's the 50 first tomatoes that are ready, they're either sold directly in our farm store or they go to farmers market. And yes, I understand that a member didn't get them, but to us that's just been okay. In this situation, if you're thinking like, because you might not be going to a market, well then sure, like that might be a really great way to get rid of the little bits of something here and there. We just feel like we'd rather know that the dozen items that we have are going to fill up the boxes, and like, yeah.
I mean, it's less stuff on the pack line to have to worry about and pack.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But I just want to point out, like, yeah, the system can handle that. Like, it's, you know, very well equipped to take, you know, those small amounts for anybody who wants to do that.
Yeah. And maybe if you're thinking about it, like from, oh, we would have taken that to market, but we're not sure if we're going to go to market. That might be a great place too, to sell it as an extra.
Yeah. So, yeah. You don't have to put it in your share inventory. You just throw it on extras. Yep. Or you might just want it available for a swap, like Robyn mentioned the anti-feature, because we can't think of a better name for it. You can like throw something in your estimate to just be available for swaps, but you know, something that's not necessarily like in the base box for everybody. So there's
and that's new. I haven't used the system. I haven't used it since that got introduced. So that'll be interesting on how we. If we anti-item stuff.
Anti-feature it. I know. I still don't know a better word.
And I'm sure that it's hard if you've never used the system to understand why you would want that. But it is important. So like, I think it does make sense. Let's say you do have 100 cucumbers that you just like, they were picked last Friday, but you really want to get them out the door. So you could put them in as a swappable item, but knowing that 100 wouldn't have been enough to go around, but you want people to be able to swap them in because you don't really care about selling them. I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Like they're not counted against the share value for that member.
Yeah.
They're just available in your inventory for members to swap other products out of. So
Right.
yeah, there's some options. Pedro had a question. He says that you mentioned popular crops. Is there a way to get a spreadsheet of members' preferences to know the most popular crops? Yes, you can get a export of member preferences. I assume you've used that, Robyn.
I have, but I have a few things to say about it. So
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
preferences, the report that you can export from Harvie is only useful for certain things. Okay. So what Harvie, people are ranking every item and their preferences on a 1 to 5 scale. So first of all, did they set a lot of people just don't set them. Most do,
Right.
I think, but some people don't. So you got to keep that in mind when you're exporting these preferences to look at the spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to give you so for a person who gives it a 5 could counteract everyone who gave it a 1. So for every person who loves celeriac, here, celery root is going to be my example. It's our most hated crop. So, so it doesn't pay to just look at the ones. 100 of our members gave it a 1, so they don't ever want to see one in their life. But then you got to look at how many people gave it a 5, because all those people that gave it a 5, they probably will get double the celeriac then. So from a growing perspective, you kind of have to look at both of the numbers, I think. If you just look at the ones and be like, oh, we can grow a third less of that because that many people don't like it. Well, you still might not want to be that drastic, because if people love it, you still could sustain having that much of it growing. So I think it's important to kind of look at the balance of that.
Mm-hmm. And we actually did a whole separate call, Pedro, on this topic. Curtis from Millsap Farms, he did a presentation because he's been with us for a while now too. So how to, do crop planning, based on, past Harvie years. So as you go forward with your seasons, you will have some better data. But
and
yes.
I'm like a firm believer too that, we kind of know which ones aren't popular, let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I don't always use just popularity we don't use that solely as the decision maker on our farm as to whether or not the crop gets kicked out, right? Some stuff just gets kicked out. Potatoes, people love them. Obviously it's a potato, but we buy ours in because it doesn't make sense for us to grow them. So, I think a lot of our growing decisions can't be solely made. That's a separate subject, but it is good though to know. And what we did is we identified our 10 most popular crops and then tried to figure out how to maximize the number of times we can give them. That's what we have done. That's what we did in 2019, and going into this season, I'm happy that we're taking that approach.
That's great.
One more question there about the weekly
about your
timeline. And so ours, I will say, ours is very spread out, but it's what works for us. And there's a vulnerability aspect because of ours being spread out, that we're setting our estimate quite a bit ahead of the actual harvest. So we do our estimate, we do our drive around the farm to determine our numbers on a Thursday. One last look-see on a Friday morning when you're out there picking for market. And then by Friday afternoon, we're emailing the member. So we're entering the harvest estimate, which generates the emails to the member. Then the member has from Friday afternoon all the way until Sunday night at 10 p.m. to make changes to their share. And then and that gives us a final pick list on Monday morning. So we have the numbers we need on Monday morning. We pick Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for that share on Thursday. So that member got the email 6 days before they were going to get their share. So for a lot of farms, that's probably crazy. Maybe, I don't know. We need to know on Monday morning. I can't find out on Tuesday afternoon how many kale we needed. The size that we only pick 2 or 3 crops a day because of the volume of it. So, I can't find out on Tuesday what we will need because we need those 3 full days of harvest. So it works really well. We love that that's our system, but what it means is that you have to know on Friday morning how many pounds of green beans that planting is going to yield the following week by Thursday, which is hard, which is super hard. And we just are big on underestimating. We use like a bag as a unit for green beans, because then if it's half a pound or 0.7 of a pound, like it doesn't really matter. We never said it was going to be a pound. We just give it a bag as a unit. Gives us the flexibility to move that the poundage around if we need to. The hard part is you did have to put a value on it. So even if you're sliding around the actual pound of a bag, there is a value attached to it. So you have to be reasonable on that.
Okay. Carrie had one question, but I don't know what report she's talking about. She's asking if she
Well,
can
maybe
download.
the preferences report.
Is that what she? Oh yeah, that was the last one you talked about.
Preferences report.
Yeah, I think there is a way, because we've definitely put it in an Excel.
Yeah, I think JPEG and PDF would not be a popular download format on the Harvie platform. I think most things are in a Excel or a CSV
Oh,
file.
but I know what she's talking about, though. It's that picture
Yeah.
of the bar.
Yeah, there's the
graph kind of
picture.
thing.
Yeah, the graph. But
There's
yeah,
a different place.
I'm pretty sure I've downloaded it for a farm as an Excel.
Right, I think it's not in that spot. I feel like it's in a different place.
That would make it a lot more useful data for me, because just looking at the bar graph isn't really helpful when I'm
Yeah.
looking at top 20 preferred items.
I don't know why it's taking a while, but no, there is somewhere else you can get it. If you're going to the reports preferences. I thought there was just a little click here to export it kind of thing.
Let me look here. Reports, preferences. Everything.
Why is Harvie so slow, Stephanie? What's going on?
Because we're both on Zoom. Mine's always, everything runs slow when I'm hogging up my bandwidth with Zoom.
No, it's not loading up. Oh, maybe that's why.
Because we're both on Zoom. No, I know. There was some load time issues earlier, but it looks like they got it
Secret things
resolved.
are you guys doing over there?
Oh man, I don't know. What aren't we doing right now?
No, I like the.
Maybe you could follow up, Stephanie. Stephanie, maybe you could follow up with the instructions on how to do that.
Sure.
We don't extend the call.
Yeah, I can add it to the call notes.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Well, I need to hop off here. I have a call in 10 minutes I need to get ready for. So yeah, this was great. Thank you, Robyn.
Yeah, and people can email me if they have specific questions. And yeah.
Yes. She is a wealth of knowledge. She's a pro at this. All right. Yeah, I'll throw these resources in the call notes too when I send out the recording. And yeah, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks, Robyn.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone.